Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Tom and this is part 2 of building websites with Python and Flask. Now in this video I'm going to show you how to set up your environment. And this is kind of an important thing you should do for all your projects in Python. And it's setting up what we call a virtual environment. Now a virtual environment is going to be kind of a copy of your base version of Python. So if I take a look on my system here, I've got Python installed to this directory. Now I'm on Linux, you might be on Windows or Mac or something. If you're on a Mac, this is going to be very similar. If you're on Windows, you're going to be at the DOS prompt or PowerShell. Okay, so what we want though is we want this version of Python. We're going to actually copy it to another folder. Now, why do we want to do that? Well, we're going to install some third-party libraries to it, namely Flask and probably some other stuff later on. We don't want to kind of corrupt our version here with all these libraries, because maybe later on I'm going to go start another project and I'm going to install Pygame or Django or a bunch of other stuff, and then it's going to kind of corrupt this directory with a whole bunch of stuff. Now I don't mean corrupt in a bad way. What I mean is you're just going to fill all your base version of Python with all these libraries. Some might conflict, some might have issues with each other, things like that. So to avoid that mess, we're going to take a clean version of Python, just like the base version of Python. We're going to put it in another directory, and we're going to use that. And that's called a virtual environment. And Python's not very big, so it's not like we're really worried if we copy Python over to a new folder that it's going to fill up our hard drive. In fact, for every project I make, I create a virtual environment for every Python project that I do. All right, so how do you create a virtual environment? First thing you need is you need a program called virtual env. Now virtual env is going to create your virtual environments for you, and if you don't have it installed yet, you're going to want to either do pip install or pip3 install, and it will go ahead and install it for you. And once you have that done, you're going to Python 3 and venv. You're going to install it like this. If you are on Mac or Linux, then you're going to want to do this unless you've changed your base, your system version of Python to Python 3. Otherwise, it'll install a Python 2 like virtual environment for you. If you're on Windows and you only have Python 3 installed, then you just need virtual environment venv. Okay, so if I do this, I get this and give it a second and done. Now, if I take a look at what I have in this folder now, is I have a folder called virtual environment, because that's what I called it. You can call it whatever you want. You don't have to call it venv. It's just what I do. So I'm going to go in here and I'm take a look. And what you see is you see a bin directory, include, lib, and share. If you're on Windows, it's slightly different, but you should see these folders in here. If you're on Windows, you're going to see a folder called scripts. Inside that scripts folder is what we will see when we go into the bin folder. You should see something along these lines. Now, as I said before, the libraries and stuff, those are all going to be installed inside here instead of in that version of Python that I had earlier, this one here. So it's not going to be installed there. They're all going to be installed inside include, lib, things like that. So right now, I haven't actually activated this virtual environment, and to activate it, you've got to do this. Now on Windows, it'll just be activate. It's a batch file. You just type activate and it should run. So once you see that venv, that's going to be a sign that I'm now working in my virtual environment, and I can go ahead and do stuff like pip install Flask. Okay, and if I do this, it'll go ahead and install Flask for me, and we're good to go. So now I have it installed. Okay, so let's take a look at a few other things here. So one, how do you get out of the virtual environment? Let's say you're done using it, you want to use your base version of Python again, you just type deactivate and it will pop you back here. The problem is, at least for me, and I find this irritating, is I now have to activate it again. I got to go back in here and everything like that, then go cd bin, and then I got to activate it. I don't really like to do that. I like to create a file here. Usually I just call it G for go. that is at my base project, the base of my project directory, and which will go ahead and activate everything for me. It just runs the activation script without me having to go into that folder. Okay, so I do that, and I can do this, and it activates. And then I want to deactivate. I'm back here. Okay, so that is my virtual environment. And if you want to check if you have Flask installed, you will activate your virtual environment. You'll type Python, and you'll just type import Flask. If you get no error, then Flask has successfully installed. All right. So in the next video, we're going to go ahead and make a basic Flask server. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll see you next video.